What could possibly cause a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, costing over $13 billion and carrying nearly 5,000 U.S. sailors, to be engulfed in flames for more than 30 hours while on a mission in the war-torn Red Sea? Not due to enemy fire, but because of a massive blaze in its own laundry room, leaving more than 600 crew members without even a place to sleep. Regarding the fire that occurred on March the 12th, the U.S. military's initial statement sounded downplayed, merely noting that the main laundry room had caught fire. 2 people were injured, the propulsion system remained intact, and the carrier was still combat-ready. However, as time passed and more details emerged, the situation proved far from that simple. According to crew members, the fire started in the ventilation ducts of a dryer and spread rapidly. Sailors fought the blaze for more than 30 hours before finally bringing it under control. In the aftermath, over 600 crew members lost their berths and were forced to sleep on the floor or on tables, while dozens more suffered from smoke inhalation. With the laundry facility severely damaged, many sailors were unable to wash their clothes. This is not the first non-combat incident the USS Ford has experienced recently. Just about 2 weeks ago, the aircraft carrier made headlines due to a widespread toilet malfunction. At the time, nearly 90% of the ship's approximately 650 toilets were inoperable due to a failure in the vacuum sewage system. Thousands of sailors had to wait in line for up to 45 minutes to use the restroom, and there were even instances of sewage backing up. Although U.S. military officials denied claims of a major system failure, they did acknowledge that blockages had occurred, and that items clearly not meant to be flushed, such as clothing, towels, and even mop heads, had been retrieved from the pipes. Captain Scarosi explained that the blockages were caused by some rookie sailors flushing inappropriate items down the toilets, and the military is currently stepping up training. Some speculated at the time that the items might have been deliberately flushed by crew members. When viewed together, these 2 incidents naturally raise a question: is this truly a case of aging equipment, or is someone engaging in sabotage behind the scenes? Although there is currently no conclusive evidence proving the fire was arson, given the USS Ford's current predicament, such speculation is not entirely without merit. Since departing from Norfolk Naval Station in late May of last year, this aircraft carrier has been deployed at sea for more than 9 consecutive months, far exceeding the standard peacetime deployment limit of 6 months. Due to successive mission adjustments from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean and then to the Red Sea, its return date has been repeatedly postponed, potentially reaching 334 days, which would break the record for the longest continuous deployment of a U.S. aircraft carrier since the Vietnam War. The prolonged time at sea has left the more than 4,000 officers and crew members physically and mentally exhausted. According to media reports, many sailors have missed their family members' funerals, as well as the births and upbringing of their children, and feelings of anger and frustration are spreading throughout the ship. Quite a few have already made it clear that they will apply for discharge as soon as this deployment ends, and never serve again. Such widespread low morale is bound to affect the rigor of daily operations. Under these conditions, the probability of operational errors increases, and maintenance of equipment may be neglected. Worse still, a tiny minority might, driven by war weariness or dissatisfaction with extended deployments, sabotage non-critical systems as a form of protest, or even fantasize that a malfunction on the carrier would allow them to return for repairs. Military analysts have pointed out that the incidents, from the blocked toilets to the laundry room fire, occurred in quick succession and were carried out in a highly targeted manner. The toilet blockage involved intentionally flushing objects down the pipes, requiring coordination among many crew members who were in on the scheme. If the laundry room fire was indeed arson, the location was carefully chosen, neither an ammunition depot nor a nuclear reactor, to avoid catastrophic consequences while still attracting significant attention. Greek media, citing sources, reported that one possibility under investigation is that the fire was deliberately set by crew members seeking to end their extended deployment. Russian media went even further, directly reporting that a spokesperson for the Iranian armed forces claimed the incident was likely orchestrated by the U.S. military itself, as they did not want to go to war with Iran. This kind of strategic, restrained sabotage has been described by some as a form of silent protest, not aimed at overthrowing commanders, but at sending a message through the creation of trouble: we've had enough, we want to go home. Senior U.S. military officials are well aware of the severity of the problem. Retired Rear Admiral John Kirby candidly stated that one cannot expect a warship and its crew to remain in peak condition after prolonged, high-intensity operations. The vessels themselves experience fatigue, and the wear and tear resulting from extended deployments will only grow more severe. The president of a threat assessment firm also pointed out that the pace of naval operations is extremely fast, making personnel fatigue and declining morale inevitable. During prolonged combat deployments, logistical support systems, such as laundry, water supply, and catering, are likely to fail first. A nuclear-powered aircraft carrier is essentially a floating town capable of launching and recovering aircraft, and these failures underscore the complexity of this floating city. The Pentagon has now recognized that the USS Ford is nearing its limits, and is considering sending the USS Bush to relieve it. Turning our attention back to the United States, anti-war sentiment is also spreading throughout society. Anti-war demonstrations have erupted in multiple cities, with the public demanding an end to military operations against Iran. Such sentiments at the societal level are bound to seep into the military to some extent. Morale within the military is often intertwined with public opinion. When soldiers feel they are serving day and night overseas while the public back home questions the war's purpose, inner turmoil is inevitable. Some soldiers are seeking legal avenues to refuse combat through conscientious objector organizations. This interplay of internal and external pressures poses a severe challenge to the stability of U.S. frontline forces. From a technical perspective, the fire in the aircraft carrier's laundry room could indeed have been caused by equipment failure. Just like household appliances, dryers on ships can catch fire due to lint buildup or electrical malfunctions. Areas like laundry rooms, which contain flammable materials, high temperatures, and complex machinery, are inherently at high risk of fire, especially since they must operate continuously. Given that the USS Ford had recently experienced a sewage system failure, there may be design flaws or inadequate maintenance in some of the ship's logistical subsystems. Construction of this aircraft carrier began in 2005, but it was not commissioned until 2017. During this period, the adoption of too many new technologies led to budget overruns and delays. More new technologies mean more complex systems, and complexity means a higher likelihood of malfunctions. However, even if the fire was technically caused by equipment, human factors cannot be entirely ruled out. Prolonged deployments and low morale inevitably lead to the neglect of operating procedures and inadequate maintenance, which in turn increases the probability of equipment failure. Ultimately, the fire in the USS Ford's laundry room may have destroyed more than just some equipment and a few hundred beds. It laid bare the U.S. military's strained force deployment capabilities, the frayed nerves of service members under prolonged deployments, and the cracks beneath the glossy surface of a superpower's military machine that are increasingly difficult to conceal. In a statement, U.S. Naval Central Command emphasized that the carrier's propulsion system was undamaged and remains fully operational, but the reality is that with over 600 people without beds, dozens exposed to smoke, and no way to wash their clothes, can this really be called fully operational? As for the true cause of the fire, whether it was due to aging electrical systems or arson, the U.S. military has yet to provide a clear explanation. But one thing is certain: if the underlying issues of morale are not addressed, and the fatigue and discontent of the crew continue to mount, even if the USS Bush were to replace the USS Ford, the same problems would inevitably resurface on another ship sooner or later. The U.S. Navy possesses 11 aircraft carriers, but only a handful are ready for immediate deployment at any given time. The fleet's operational capacity is already nearing its limits. To maintain a global presence, the USS Ford and other carriers are forced to serve beyond their scheduled terms, a fact that exposes the U.S. Navy's inherent difficulties in forced deployment. Morale issues directly impact the U.S. military's global combat capabilities and deployment efficiency. This fire, which burned for over 30 hours, may well be the clearest signal of all.